Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Mainstream Media News. My name is Mainstream Media Jerk. Our top story tonight. Ice is cold. Rain is bad. Snow is terrifying. Children play on the hills and the streets, fashioning snowballs with their hands, unaware of the danger that they're in. Their internal organs freezing beyond your sight. Their noses, their eyes, and their ears closing up internally. For more on this, we have a guy in a suit in a studio who is going to attempt to scare you. David.
Clearly, the Arctic blast has caused significant disruption right across the country. Long stretches of the M25 motorway have been jammed. Drivers in the southeast are being asked by National Highways not to travel unless they absolutely have to.
A chilling tale indeed, David. It sounds like drivers throughout England and the southeast should abandon all hope of going anywhere or doing anything. David, do you know if we have any crisis actors that we can go live to attempt to really scare people and put them off doing anything or saying anything or having any sort of a life?
People have been describing to Sky News how they've been stuck in their cars through the freezing night.
Excellent, David. That sounds like an incredibly balanced piece of reporting that we should absolutely put out across the nation on all major channels. We now go live to a crisis actor near the M25 staging an appearance in a car.
Been an absolute standstill for over 3 hours. So it's pretty disheartening. The UK, we're just rubbish. We are rubbish when the weather gets extreme, aren't we?
Yes, that's right. You sound incredibly disheartened. Despite the fact that you're laughing and clearly having the absolute time of your life, users that are watching this should remember to be incredibly disheartened and that you're all very close to an icy death.
We really are bad. No, so I'm meant to be getting home for Nottingham, home to Nottingham. So maybe I'll definitely get home for Christmas. Maybe that's the plan. We've got a new plan.
Thank you very much, Stephen. This definitely seems newsworthy and like the type of thing that we should be putting out across the national media. One more thing, Stephen. It doesn't actually seem like you're in a moving car and the traffic all appears to be going on to the left of you. There doesn't seem to be any sort of car headlights around you or noise of traffic. You don't seem to be actively operating the motor vehicle. Can you shed any light on why it seems you're just parked somewhere winding people up?
So maybe that's the plan. We've got a new plan.
Big problems at the airports as well. Both Gatwick and Stansted had to close their runways yesterday to clear the snow. They are open again now, but with reduced flights and a huge backlog of waiting passengers.
Thanks very much, David. That sounds absolutely terrible. That sounds like people should abandon all hope of doing anything or having any sort of fun in life. Do we have any crisis actors that we can go through to now live that could just give us some sort of worst case scenario, make it all up and make it sound as though that's the experience that everyone's having? Do you have anyone like that we could speak to, David?
Well, let's speak to someone who finds themselves at Gatwick Airport. Bethany Watton has been stranded there and she joins us on the line. Bethany, good to talk to you. First things first, where were you supposed to be going?
To Bali.
To Bali, and instead you're trapped at Gatwick. I mean, how long have you been there for?
I've been here around 17 hours.
Excellent reporting, David. And you say that Bethany's there and she's... Sorry, get this right. She's trapped at the airport? Do they have her in some sort of cage? Is it a giant human mousetrap? Did she try and access some cheese and then a giant piece of metal fell down, pinning her neck? Can you use any more words like trapped, stranded, castrated? Can you use any more sort of colourful language, David, to really make people at home feel like this is any worse than it is? Can you do any of that for us? Could you perhaps repeat some of the stuff that we already know, but just sort of emphasise it? Anything like that, David? Can you do anything else just to make this sound worse, please?
17 hours?
Yes. Stranded here.
What kind of communication have you had from the airline and from the airport? Have they given you any idea of when you might be heading off?
Nothing so far. We spoke to some staff when we came back through customs yesterday. They said to go back to your airline desk in the morning around 8 o'clock and they'll tell us some more information, but that's all we've heard. And we couldn't get any hotels last night as everywhere was fully booked. Everyone's in the same position.
Thank you, Michelle. Do you know if the hotels are fully booked, full of people, like you say, in the same position as you? Or do you know if there's an army of undocumented illegal immigrants that are staying there like there are at hotels across the rest of the country? No, you know for a fact that it's 100% everyone who's had a flight to Bali cancelled. Yep, that does seem believable.
Everyone has just been sleeping on the floor.
So how many of you are there, Bethany? Who's travelling with you at the moment?
I'm with my boyfriend at the moment.
And how have you guys managed to cope? I mean, have you managed to grab any sleep yourselves?
Thank you very much for asking that question, Stephen. This is exactly the sort of thing the national media should be reporting on, whether an individual couple has had any sleep at all over a 17-hour period. Have you had any sleep while you're lying on the floor? Or let me guess, have they been torturing you on the floor? Has anyone been kicking you while you're on the floor? Has anyone from the airline come in to drop the people's elbow on you? Do you know, Deborah? Has that happened?
Not really. I've had a couple of hours, but everyone's in the same situation. There's lots of people, children as well.
Thank you very much for mentioning children, Deborah. That certainly should scare everyone an extra 20% at home. There are children lying on piles in the floor. The airline, they haven't said anything. They've just shifted them around the floor like a small juvenile mop. We don't have any more news on this story yet, unless, Bethany, is there anything else you can add to try and terrify people? We can try and ask you some leading questions, make it sound like it's worse than it is. Are you up for...
And everyone's just trying to get some sleep, but it's really cold as well in here.
I can only imagine. I mean, have you at least been provided with some teas, coffees, food, anything like that?
No, nothing.
Wow, what an unexpected response, Bev. This just keeps getting worse and worse and more unbelievable as I ask more improbable questions. This is absolutely crazy.
Haven't had really any help from any staff. Can't really find anyone to speak to.
So to summarise, Bethany, there's just children and adults just lying on a floor. You've been there for 17 hours. You haven't slept. No one's spoke to you, but they have told you that there's no hotels available and they're all full. And no one's given you any tea or coffee or water. You've been trapped. You've been starved. Am I getting all this, Bethany? Has anyone spat on you or racially abused you or sexually molested you from the airline that you'd care to share with us? Has any of that happened?
Just been a bit of a nightmare. I'm not sure if we'll get any money back from the airline, as they said they wouldn't even offer us money for a hotel for the night.
Is there any thought in your mind of just jacking it in?
Killing yourself. Ending it. It might be the only way out here, Beverly. I don't see anything. You're on the floor. It's been 17 hours. The airline have told you to go F yourself. They've left you on the floor. There's children, there's women, there's Muslims, there's Jews, there's Christians. Everyone's just lying in a big heap. You've been spat on. They've said you can't have any tea, you can't stay at a hotel, lie on the floor, get lost. Is there any point to life anymore, Beverly?
Leaving the airport, going home and getting yourselves warm and maybe getting some sleep.
Yes, I did think that last night before.
It's going to cut you off there, Beverly. You probably can't see this your end, but to help viewers understand what's going on, we are playing sort of video images of a snowy airport to give the impression that you're outside in the cold. That's obviously not the case, but we would like that picture in people's minds, if that's okay with.
Before I even tried to sleep, but going to try again today, and then maybe we will have to go back.
And I suppose, Bethany, you must have been looking forward to this trip for quite a long time.
Yes, and obviously we've already said bye to everyone at home, so...
Oh my gosh, so you've already said bye to people and you've not left the country, but you have said bye. This is breaking stuff, guys. We've got someone called Bethany. She's said bye to someone, but she's not left the country. This is incredible journalism. So presumably you're going to have to say hello to these people before you next see them, or are you going to say goodbye again? Can you get any more clarification on this, please, Beverly? We've got a lot of people that are going to want to know whether you've said goodbye to someone they've never met before in their life or will ever again.
Oh, dear. Well, look, I will be keeping my fingers crossed, Bethany. I mean, moving to Australia is a big old trip in and of itself. But to miss out on the Bali leg, look, well, stay warm and keep in touch. And look, let us know if you manage to get on that plane sometime today. I hope you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You take care, Bethany. Well, let's bring in Sky's Becky Cottrell at Victoria Station in London. Victoria, good to see you. What is the state of play in terms of transport this morning, Becky? I mean, I know myself from driving in this morning, the roads are absolutely treacherous, and frankly, people, if they can avoid driving today, really should do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephen. That really is what we're looking for from a national news broadcaster. Just sort of anecdotal I went to the shops today and there was a guy in there that was drunk. So just welcome to the mainstream media news. There's drunk people in the shops all across the country. I saw one this morning and I've got a little story about it, and people should just sort of take my advice, because I'm one guy and if it's happened to me, then it's just the news. It's just the news now. It's the news. Welcome to the news. What happened to me?
But what about the public transport aspect?
Well, certainly if you're trying to get the train, you're likely to face problems today, particularly if you're here in the southeast or London. I'm at London's Victoria Station. Many of the lines here suspended. The companies that operate up here, Southeastern, Southern Rail, the Gatwick Express, they've all had problems with snow on the tracks overnight. As I say, having to cancel services today. They are trying to get them back up and running, but it's likely the disruption will continue for much of the day. And it's, of course, not just the conditions on the tracks that are the problem. They're also trying to put on replacement bus services, but if the conditions on the road simply aren't good enough, then that is not going to be possible either.
Right, I see, Sarah. Is there any reason then why you would tell us that? It seems to make a lot of sense if you're like, well, the trains aren't running and they're putting on buses, but they aren't running either. Over to you, David.
As you mentioned, drivers also facing a lot of problems. We are getting into Monday rush hour now.
Sorry, Jemima, to cut you off. We just got some live breaking footage of a windscreen wiper going over a snowy video slowly through some traffic somewhere on the country. And we really just want to have this front of mind for all our users, that out there somewhere, someone's using a windscreen wiper. Thank you.
Absolutely have to travel.
Thanks very much, Sarah. That's all from the news at 10 o'clock. My name is Mainstream Media Jerk. And as a final reminder, users that are intending to go out and travel today are advised not to. And if you absolutely must travel, it is advised that before you do, you consider killing yourself.